Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic video of the FanHome Build the Millennium Falcon. I am working on package number 7, stages 27 through 31. FanHome is taking orders for this right now, so head over to FanHome and subscribe to this. I put a direct link down below. Please click on that link. It lets FanHome know you watched my video, and I suggested you head over there and sign up for this. This is a fantastic build. It's the 3-foot replica of the Empire Strikes Back Millennium Falcon. Where can you go wrong with that? If you're a big Star Wars fan, as I am, you'll enjoy this, and you can follow my videos. I'm not that far along in this build, and you could always catch up to where I'm at today. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another installment of the Star Wars Millennium Falcon. Now I am working on pack number 7, and 7 includes stages 27 through 31. In these stages I'll be assembling another corridor section and a lot of hull framing parts. So that should be a lot of fun here. Let's look at the parts that came in this pack. Stage 27, hull frame parts, corridor, and part of the jig. Stage 28, another piece of the corridor, hull frames. Stage 29, again, more of the hull framing parts. We've got this big ring here. Stage 30, hull frame parts, and another part of the jig. And lastly, stage 31, hull frame parts, and another part of the jig. Let's get started. And before I begin the build, I'd like to thank you all who subscribe to my channel already. Only a small percentage of you who watch my videos actually subscribe to my channel, and subscribing really keeps my channel going. It's free, doesn't cost you a cent, plus you'll receive notifications if you have those turned on your device. But anyway, if you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. I know they are taking orders for it currently, and it is now again available. So let's look at the magazine for 27. Great articles here. Super Star Destroyer Executor. That is a super cool looking Star Destroyer. A few pages involved with that. Great articles here. Gun controls and ground buzzer cannon. And the parts here. Let's get a closer look at the build for this stage. This stage I'll assemble another piece of the corridor and the lower hull frames. I always like doing the corridors. It's fun gluing all the parts in and such. But here's the parts that are with this stage. Work on the corridor first. We'll install all the pads in the floor. At least one side of it there. And then we'll work on some more bottom frames. And I'll show you how I do that, which I think is the best way to prevent from breaking these frames. These frames are very fragile, and if you're not careful, you can break them. I've seen other builders break theirs. Step by step here. And we'll start using the assembly jig. So we'll get all those together, put those together here. Show you what that looks like. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 27. Let's get a closer look. Here's those parts, and like I said, we do have an assembly jig here, which is a vacuum form piece of plastic, the pads for it, another piece of the corridor, the padding for that, all made of plastic, another hull plating, plastic, of course, hull framing pieces with some connectors and some more screws. Going to bring in the floor from issue 26 or stage 26, and that's simply just going to go down on this corridor assembly, and we're going to put in the shorter brass self-tapping screws. And use caution with that. Don't use the longer brass screws because they could actually go through the floor and ruin your finish there on the floor. So we're going to use the shorter ones. There we go. And that's how the floor looks. Next we'll go ahead and put in the padding. Here's our padding. I'll be using this pad and that pad right there. And I'll use my ABS glue for this. I like it over the super glue because it seems to hold better. Use it sparingly. It does dry very fast. There you go. And if you have a little spillover like I do, you can go ahead and spray that with some Krylon matte spray paint finish, some clear finish, and it'll look great. And that's how that looks there. And there you go. I clear coated that. Looks great. Let's move on to the next step. Now we'll work on the bottom frames, and we'll utilize the frame we received in this stage, plus 2 other frames we received in issues 25 and 26, plus the connectors for those frames. Also, the brass screws for that connector are not the self-threading screws like the ones we used previously. These are the ones designed for metal. They have very tight threads on them. The key here is to assemble everything loosely. We're going to mount it to the other frame that we already have assembled, and then we'll tighten everything down. I'll take you through that here. I'll be right back. So just as a review for this connector, we use these longer gold colored screws, and they have the tight threads. They're like a brass screw, and this connector is already manufactured with threads on this side. So when you go to screw these in, it should be tight. Okay, it should be tight. And I don't tighten them down too tight here. If you put one in and it spins on you, it's because you're using the one made for plastic, and the threads on those are a lot wider, spaced apart more, and they'll actually turn inside here. They'll never tighten down, so you know you have the wrong screw when that happens. Okay, all the black frame screws are installed, but I left them all loose so that way I can make adjustments when I go to install this on the rest of the frames. I'll go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, all the screws are installed here, all the frame screws, the black ones. Now before I tighten them down, I went ahead and I loosened up the other screws on the other side of the support, so that way everything can come into line here. It just makes it easier. Everything is still loose, as you can see. Everything is still loose. So I'm going to concentrate to make sure that this edge right here is flush and the back edge is also flush when I go to tighten these down. I'll be right back. All the screws have been tightened down, including the ones I loosened up over here, so everything is tight now and it looks great. Now remember, none of these screws need oil because the frames are manufactured with threads on them already. And here you go. Here's what's assembled so far, and that's what we just completed, on this stage. Now, the last part of this is assembling the jig and mounting this on that jig. Now, they want you to mount that jig on a piece of real thick cardboard or real thin wood board, and it needs to be 24 by 36 inches. So I'm going to have to manufacture that before I can actually do that part. So that will actually complete this stage. Here's the jig also. I did mark 27 on it, so that completes 27. Let's head over and do stage 28. Let's carry on here and start on 28. Fire Spray Pursuit Special, Django and Boba Fett Starship. I've always said Baba. It's really Boba, I believe. Astromechs. And look at our instructions here, real close. Again, work on the port corridor. Here's the parts. We'll complete putting in the padding on this. We'll make another arch with the padding. Assemble the top and bottoms together there. See how that all fits on the interior. This is all going to be a test fit, and nothing's going to be permanent in this case. We're not going to screw it or glue it together, just a test fit, and that's what it should look like. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 28. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Here's another hull plating. It is made of plastic. And normally I'll mark that with stage 28 on the back side. The top piece of the corridor and the corridor ring. And you all saw how I assemble that, so I'm not going to show that on camera. And then once again, hull plating that we're not going to assemble in this stage, I went ahead and marked it 28. And the screws, I'll go ahead and mark those 28 also. And here's a close-up view of where those pads will go. And there it is, all complete. I went ahead and clear coated it. And we have the other side here. Go together. Now I've already assembled the arch pads, and that's what they look like. Use the same ABS cement for that. Now we're going to go ahead and insert this. This tab on top is more towards the left, and insert that in there, just like that. And then put the top on. There we go. That's how that looks. All sides are good. And this is going to slide on this side here, just like that. That's pretty much all I do in stage 28, but we'll go ahead and do a test assemble of the interior, and I'll be right back. And here's the interior assembled, but nothing's screwed down yet, just a test fit, and that's what it looks like. I think it looks great. We've done a lot with this, and I really like it a lot. So that completes stage 28. Let's head over and do stage 29. Now let's continue with stage 29. Pretty much everything till the end of this video are frame parts. KSC A-Wing Starfighter. Very cool there. And all the parts were received for this. Key parts to the turret ring are joined together on the frames. So that's what we're doing in this stage here. I'll show you how that goes. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 29. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. Here's that ring. It's pretty stout. Very nice. Another frame part. I marked it with a 29. And the screws. Next, to go ahead and install this turret ring, we want to make sure that the notch here is lined up, and you can see how this is. It's going to go straight down on that. All these screw holes that we're lining up have threads already, so we want to make sure we line up the notch with those. And we're going to get all our screws started before we tighten anything down. All the screws are on the ring, and you want to make sure all your frames are slotted in like they're supposed to be. And you'll see that when you build this yourself. But you want to be very careful with these screws. What you may have to do to get everything to line up, because alignment was definitely difficult here, but take your other screws further down and just loosen those up a little bit. That will free up these frames. So you may have to do that to get all these lined up on top. Okay, get them all started. They're all loose. And now I'll go ahead and tighten those down. I'll tighten down the screws that I had to loosen up in order to achieve that. But everything here looks good. Just making sure all of our frames and connectors are where they should be. I'll be right back. All the screws are tight, and that's how that looks so far. Looks great. That completes stage 29. Let's head over and do stage 30. Moving along swiftly here, stage 30. Trade Federation Battleships 1. Very cool. Droid control ships. Artificial gravity generators. And our next assembly here. Once again, more frame parts, hull frame parts. And we also receive a jig. Here's all the steps. I'll take you through those steps. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Stage 30 parts. Let's get a closer look. And here's those parts. Here's the jig. I marked it with a 30. More hull frames. 2 more pieces, some connectors, screws, and another part here. And I'll mark that with a 30 also. Stage 30, we assemble these parts here. Now this part right here came with stage 28, I believe. And we did receive one that almost looks just like it here in this stage 30. Well, we don't use this one. We use this one a little bit later. So I did mark it with a 30. Put that aside. And we have all the connectors. Once again, I'm going to put in all the screws loosely, and then we're going to mount this to our frame. I'll be right back. All the screws are started and they're loose. So now I'll go ahead and mount this to the frame section. I'll be right back. All the screws are tight. So that completes stage 30. Looks great. Let's head over and do the final stage for this video, stage 31. Let's go ahead and look at stage 31 and Naboo N1 Starfighter. That's pretty cool there. Moving on. The R2 Astromech. Very cool. And the next parts, we're actually going to assemble 3 more frame parts. And it's really coming along. It looks great. We receive also another jig, but I need to get the wood for that. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's parts for stage 31. Let's get a closer look. Here's the next jig. And I marked it with a 31. Hull plating, also put a 31 on that. And the frames, 2 more pieces of the frame, the connectors for those, and more screws. And here's the next set of hull frames. And this is the one we got previous stage 30. Once again, I'm going to install all the screws loose, mount it to the frame loosely, and then screw everything down tight. I'll be right back. And everything's assembled here, still loose. Go ahead and mount this to the hull frames. All the screws are tight. Whole section is installed now. It looks great. So that completes stage 31, which completes this video. I'll be right back. And there you have it. That completes pack 7. Did a lot here and making great progress with this. I'm really enjoying this build. So if you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and sign up for this subscription today. I do know they are taking orders for this. It's a fantastic build, and you definitely do not want to pass up this studio scale Millennium Falcon from The Empire Strikes Back. I think it looks fantastic, and I'm really enjoying it once again. I can't overemphasize how much I'm having fun with this. Anyway, if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.